Hi, Nicole Pepperell from Pepperell Chiropractic. May is National Skin Cancer Awareness Month, and I personally feel like we all are well aware that skin cancer exists. So I'm going to do just a little bit of education on just a little bit on skin cancer, but specifically on sunscreen, and you'll see where I'm going with this. So the National Cancer Institute actually reported that since the 1970s, melanoma, which is a specific kind of skin cancer, has actually tripled since the 70s. And why is that? A lot of their education is based on the sun. They don't really talk about much of anything else. They kind of just blame it on the sun, and I feel like the sun is getting a really bad rap. And I will get to more of that in a minute, but we really do not understand as a society how important the sun is to us. Most of the cancer institutes and most of the medical community tout sunscreen and using sunscreen, you know, when you're out in the sun and using it appropriately. And the topic really baffles me, honestly, and it frustrates me because none of the education really talks about the type of sunscreen we should be using, and the chemicals we should be avoiding. Now, disclaimer, the sun can and does cause skin cancer, and I think it's way less of we need to avoid the sun and way more of we just need to be sun smart. We need to know when to expose ourselves to sun, which I will talk about more later. And we just need to be a little more smart about the sun. The sun is always going to be there. It's never going to go away. So, or hopefully it won't, because then we will go away. But the sun's always going to be there. So we have to be smart about it, and less of just trying to avoid it. So the part that baffles me is we are preached to about using sunscreen to avoid sun exposure and thus avoiding skin cancer. And we're pushed to put sunscreen on, but what the vast majority of us are using are sunscreens that are chock full of chemicals that we slather onto our skin that equally can cause skin cancer. So this is where this being sun smart comes into play. Yes, I totally agree with using sunscreen, and we use it here in our house. But we really, as consumers, need to make smarter decisions. And like I was saying, yes, I think the sun does play a part in skin cancer. But the sun has always been there. Even back in the 70s, the sun was in the sky. And we, for sure, were not using as much sunscreen back then as we were using now. So I don't think that the sun has as much to do with skin cancer as the chemicals that we're putting on our body. Just a few facts. So, in other countries, in the vast majority of other industrialized countries, they have banned over 1,300 chemicals that we here in the United States have not. So our government, because they have not, and specifically the FDA, has not banned these chemicals, companies, it's totally legal for them to put them in their products. And I'm not just talking about sunscreen here. I'm talking about any kind of personal care products. So lotion, shampoo, soaps, perfumes. Makeup is a huge offender. Sunscreen, bug spray, anything you're putting onto your skin can have over 1,300 chemicals more than what other countries have. Another fact, the average woman comes in contact, her skin comes in contact with over 130 chemicals just in her morning routine. So just taking a shower, putting on makeup, putting on deodorant, and getting ready to go about their day, they're coming in contact with over 130 chemicals. So I am not going to solely blame skin cancer on the sun. I think there are a lot of culprits, and we as consumers just need to be more smart about it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about a tool that I use all the time and that I highly recommend that can help you become a better consumer when it comes to shopping for products that you're putting on your skin. So that's my soapbox. So first I want to talk about our skin. So our skin is our largest organ. So 3 things I want you really basically for this little talk to know about our skin. It's our largest organ. It is the very first level of your immune system, which we don't really think about. We think our immune system of being inside our body, yada, yada, yada. But it's actually our skin is part of our immune system. And when you think about it, I mean, we come in contact with tons of things during the day that are in the air that you can't even see. And our skin is there to protect the rest of our body. It's blocking, it's shielding us from those, from potential hazards. And the other thing about our skin that we need to know about, which I think we're probably all well aware if you've ever rubbed anything into your skin, is it absorbs. Anything can penetrate your skin. So anything you put on your skin can absorb. And once your skin absorbs something, it can go straight into your bloodstream. And once something is in your bloodstream, it has full access to the rest of your body, to every organ, every cell, every muscle, every bone. So that's skin. So the other thing I want to talk about is vitamin D. So before we really get into sunscreen, I just want to cover a few little topics. So skin, vitamin D. So vitamin D is extremely important for our health. Vitamin D is so important that I feel like the general medical community, they don't emphasize the importance of vitamin D. So vitamin D, you can only get vitamin D naturally one way, and that is from the sun. Our body actually produces vitamin D when we are exposed to the sun. If you are not exposed to the sun, your body is not making vitamin D appropriately, and you can become vitamin D deficient, super, super simple. And in fact, about 70% of Americans are vitamin D deficient. And what does that mean? So vitamin D is extremely important for the strength of our immune system, for keeping our immune system strong, and we all know that the immune system is kind of what is one of the key players in keeping us healthy and keeping germs at bay. Vitamin D also strengthens our bones, which is extremely important. I mean, as a chiropractic office, we know the importance of vitamin D when it comes to bone health. And vitamin D can actually, there's a slew of things that it can do, but it can actually, if you have the appropriate levels of vitamin D, your body can actually fight off certain forms of cancer on its own with no help, as long as you have the right levels of vitamin D. So, like I said, the only natural way you can get vitamin D is through sun exposure. So here's how it works. A medium skin tone, so slightly my color, maybe a tad bit darker, needs 15 minutes of direct sun exposure. So that does not mean slather on sunscreen and go outside and expect to get appropriate vitamin D levels in those 15 minutes. It just means you either need your arms exposed, your legs exposed, your face, your neck to soak up the sun. And I forgot to mention that when your body comes in contact with the sun, your body naturally produces vitamin D. That's how that works. It's actually a hormone that your body produces, but we call it vitamin D. So 15 minutes a day for a medium skin tone color. If you are paler, you're less skin, you have a lighter skin tone, you may need a little less time. If you are darker skin tone, then you will need a little more of the sun time. But if you base it off roughly around 15 minutes, then your body will be producing vitamin D naturally. There are synthetic forms of vitamin D, which is fine to take in months where we, like the winter here in central Illinois, where we don't have sun a lot, or we're having to be covered up, or it's too cold to be outside. Then a synthetic form of vitamin D is fine, as long as you research the ingredients and really know what you're taking. A lot of the over-the-counter stuff can be pretty questionable in their ingredients. The other thing about vitamin D that a lot of doctors won't tell you if they do prescribe you a vitamin D is it must be taken with a K2. Your body will not be able to break down a synthetic form of vitamin D without the help of a K2. And a lot of people come into the office and say, well, I'm taking a vitamin D. And so Dr. Kurt will ask them, well, yes, but have you taken a K2? Do you take a K2 with it? And we'll explain the process to them. And they're like, no one ever told me to take a K2. So we're telling you, if you do a synthetic form of vitamin D, make sure you also take a K2. We do offer vitamin D in the office through orthomolecular. So if that's something you're interested in, you can talk to Dr. Kurt about. Let's see what else about vitamin D. I know you're probably thinking I'm a little crazy by saying, go outside and soak up some sun without sunscreen on, because that's not what we're really taught. But like I said before, you have to be a little sun smart. And so here's what I mean when I'm saying sun smart. So here's what the Pepperell family does, mainly with the kids. We have 2 girls, and if you know our girls, they're very pale and very blonde, and so they are very susceptible to burning. But I can honestly say we spend a ton of time outside. We spend a ton of time by water in the summer, and my kids have never burned once, and I don't put sunscreen on them all the time because I'm smart about it. I know when to send them out with sunscreen and when not to send them out with sunscreen. So basically, you want to avoid the times where it's high sun, where the sun is directly up in the sky. The UV rays are going to be higher. The sun is hotter. There's a bigger possibility that you could burn at those times. So here in central Illinois, that's around noonish to around 3ish. At least at this point in time of the season it is. So, perfect sun time to go outside and soak up some rays are mid-morning, late afternoon, where the sun isn't as high, it's not as hot, it's, so what I do is the kids get home from school and they have a little bit of screen time, they have a little snack, they drink some water, and about 4 o'clock-ish, I will send them outside with no sunscreen on, and on bright sunny days, they can be out there for about an hour, and they are getting their amount of vitamin D they need, and they've never once burned. So that's what I'm talking about, just being smart about the sun. You could be outside during those times, cover up a little bit more, avoid direct sunlight, sit in the shade. It's just being a little bit more, just being a little smarter about exposing yourself to the sun. So I'm not going to go into great detail about what sunscreen products contain, like specific sunscreens. I'm going to go through and I'm going to list some ingredients you definitely want to avoid and why you want to avoid them. But just know that I'm talking about the vast majority of sunscreens that are going to be in the sunscreen aisle at Target and at Walmart and at Walgreens and at CVS and at any other place you choose to buy sunscreens. They're going to contain these chemicals. Flip the bottle over, read the label, avoid these chemicals. I will talk a little bit about the EWG and their app and how that can help you, but I'll do that at the end. I'm just going to list these chemicals really, really quickly and tell you why you need to avoid them. So these are the ingredients I highly suggest we avoid in sunscreen and any other product for that matter. But these ingredients are found in the vast majority of sunscreens. So oxybenzone is one of them. This chemical helps other chemicals penetrate the skin. So this chemical is put into sunscreen to actually help the other chemicals put into the sunscreen soak into your skin. It undergoes a chemical reaction when exposed to UV rays, which comes from the sun. It disrupts hormones, which can throw off our endocrine system. And the majority of us have this chemical in our body because it accumulates quicker than our body can get rid of it. The next one is octinoxate. It produces free radicals that can damage skin and cells and actually induce aging in the sun. They say, use sunscreen so it, because too much sun exposure will age you faster, will age your skin faster. Well, in sunscreen, they're putting a chemical in it that can actually do the exact same thing. This chemical has actually been proven too to be harmful to wildlife. So that's another little component to think of when you're looking for a sunscreen. Is this sunscreen, especially if you're swimming in lakes, ponds, rivers, the ocean, some of it will run off your body and into the water, and there are chemicals in it that are harmful to the animals that live and eat off of the food that are in that ocean. Or in that body of water, sorry. The next one is retinol palmitate, which is actually vitamin A, but it's a synthetic form of vitamin A. I mean, you can put vitamin in front of any letter and it sounds fantastic, but you really have to be careful on what form of vitamin it is. So retinol palmitate produces free radicals that are toxic to our cells and DNA. Guys, we don't want anything that's toxic to our cells and DNA. That is who we are. Like, that is the core of us, our cells and our DNA. And so if you have anything affecting cells or DNA, avoid it. Studies have shown that it may actually speed the development of cancerous cells and skin tumors. And so what that is saying is, if you already have skin cancer, like the start of skin cancer, and you just don't know it yet, if you're slathering on that chemical, which is in a lot of sunscreens, it can actually progress the skin cancer along faster, which can be very, very, very harmful and somewhat, possibly fatal in the end. Another one is homosalate, which is another hormone disruptor. Another one is octocrylene, which can damage cells and cause mutations. Cell mutations is cancer. It's skin cancer. It's easily absorbed into the skin, and it can also accumulate faster in our body than our body can get rid of it. And the last one that you want to avoid is actually like a group of them. They're called parabens, which are in a vast majority of skincare products, especially makeup. So parabens can come in different forms. They're kind of a group, but a paraben, if you're looking at the ingredient of a bottle and it's got a bunch of the ingredients, and if before any of the ingredients they have the word methyl, propyl, butyl, or ethyl, stay away from it. Those are parabens, and they're preservatives. So they're put in there specifically. They're not for you. They're not even to protect you against the sun. They're specifically put in there to preserve the product. They can cause allergic reactions and disrupt hormones. So those are the chemicals or the ingredients that you wanna try and stay away from. I'm gonna mention really briefly the EWG, which I use all the time. EWG, Environmental Working Group. They have a ton of information on sunscreen. If you go to their website, it's ewg.org, and they have a ton of information on sunscreen. Now, if you go to their website right now, they haven't released their information for 2017, but they still have their information on there from 2016. It doesn't change a lot from year to year. But they give out a ton of information about sun health, being smart about the sun, and sunscreen. And they actually rate sunscreens. And so that is how I buy my sunscreens. They also have an app. It's called Healthy Living. It's like a little green circle with like a fancy artsy little E in the white E in the middle of it. It can, I use it when I'm shopping, and it is perfect for anything, for everything, for any skincare products is what I'm trying to say. They also on the app have a section for food, which I don't use as much just because we tend to buy organic and GMO free food, so I don't really have to pay attention to that as much, but we have used it and it is helpful. But you literally can download the app. It's called Healthy Living. You can download it on your phone. I know they have it for iPhones. I don't know for anything else. And you can literally scan the product. So you just take the barcode of the product, you scan it with your phone, and it will rate the product for you depending on the chemicals or the ingredients that are in the product. So you can use it for any kind of skincare product, lotion, shampoos, sunscreen, soaps, everything. I will say the app I don't feel is as efficient as just going online and looking on their website. But if you're in a hurry at a store, the app will help. I use it all the time, and you'll have to kind of read over it and kind of learn their rating system. But it is they rate things and they color code things, so it's super simple to understand. And if you've ever used it, I stick to anything below a 2. I don't buy anything above a 2, especially sunscreens. And I'll talk about this here in a second. 2 other things I want you guys to stay away from. When you are shopping for sunscreens, stop worrying about SPFs. It really doesn't matter. Really, like, if you get a good sunscreen, it really doesn't matter. And you apply the sunscreen during the hot moments, like I talked about, like the sun, is straight up in the sky, that midday time section. As long as you apply it about every 80 minutes, you're fine. An SPF really over 30, it really means nothing. And the FDA has actually talked about capping SPFs at 50, like other countries do, just because it kind of gives us a false sense of security. We think, oh, I have an SPF of 75, I can be out here for hours, and that's not the case. So just stop thinking about SPFs. I mean, I don't shop sunscreens and think, oh, I need a high SPF. Our SPFs are right around 30 or 35 that we use in our house. And the other thing to stay away from, please, sprays. Please stop using sunscreen sprays. They are so harmful, and they have additive chemicals in them to make them liquid-like to be able to spray them outside of an aerosol can, and then you're breathing in the aerosol. So there's a whole nother level of injuries that we're susceptible to when we use the can sunscreen. I get it. Like, having 2 kids, you're out at the beach, you just want to enjoy relaxing. You don't want to have to sit there and keep putting sunscreen on your kids, and it's not fun. They don't want it. They just it's a hassle. It's so much easier just to spray it on their body, but it's just I just don't even want to go there. So just please avoid the spray sunscreens. So things to look for in a good sunscreen. There's not many. Really, less is better. Less ingredients, the better the sunscreen. So there's not a ton you have to look for. The main thing you want to look for is you want a mineral-based sunscreen. And the mineral, most of the time, is going to be zinc oxide or titanium dioxide. I'll say it again. Zinc oxide or titanium dioxide are the 2 that you want to look for. So this one that we use is zinc oxide. But you want a mineral base. So a mineral base means that, it's not going to absorb as much. So when you think about like the old beach shows, or the iconic beach pictures where the lifeguard has the white strip down their nose and it looks ridiculous, that's a mineral-based sunscreen. So mineral-based sunscreens, just as a warning, they're thicker, they're white, they're kind of pasty. They're not going to be as liquidy because they do not soak into your skin. They're a true sunscreen. They're going to sit on the top of your skin like a blanket. It's going to blanket your skin to protect your skin from the sun. Now, are you going to look like a ghost using it? No. I mean, if you have that much on your nose, like those lifeguards, you've used too much. The Secret, and I've used them for several years now, the mineral-based sunscreen. I've made the mistakes of putting too much on my kids, and it looks ridiculous. But the secret is just doing a little bit at a time, and you want to get it rubbed in just to where you can barely see it. A little bit goes a long way. Just, you got to remember, a little bit goes a long way. I mean, you just really can't slather them from head to toe in it, or they will be like a sheet of paper. But it really, now that we've used it for so long, it's not an issue anymore. It's really just a little bit at a time. Mineral-based sunscreens are not harmful to the environment because they are natural minerals, and they don't break down like the regular sunscreens. In fact, the thing I've noticed is there's expiration dates on sunscreens. I don't know if you guys have ever known that, but there are expiration dates. So the mineral-based sunscreens, even though they do not contain any preservatives like the other sunscreens, because remember I listed the parabens, which were preservatives for the other sunscreens, these actually last longer. So this one I bought last year, and it's good still until March of 2018. So they actually last longer. Most sunscreens only have like a year to 2 year shelf life. This one has, who knows how long it had been on the shelf, but it has been, I'll have had it for at least 2 years. What else? Yeah, that's about it. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about sunscreens we've used. I am not endorsing these products at all. These are just the 2 sunscreens and a third one that I'm going to recommend. But these are the sunscreens that we've used in our house, so I'm only speaking from experience. There's tons of mineral sunscreens out there that are equally great, but these are just the ones that we have experience with. If you have experience with one, share, please, because I would love to know, if you would recommend any others. The first is the Honest Company. We've used those for a few years now. They have a subscription online that you can buy any of their products and just get a monthly subscription mailed to you. I also know that they sell Honest Sunscreen at Target. Yeah, and I believe the Honest Sunscreen rated a 1. I think all these sunscreens I'm going to mention rated a 1 on the EWG, which is good for those of you that don't know the EWG. So the lower the number, the better. And everything's color-coded too, so it's green, yellow, red. So anything in the green section is good. So the Honest Company sunscreen is a green, and it rated a 1. This one we started using last year, and I really, really like it. It's Badger. These you can buy, they have a website. I don't know the address, but just Google Badger. They have a whole product line. I've used some of their products that I really like. And all their products are great and really safe. Also rated a 1 and in the green category on EWG. Badger. And they have, a face stick as well. And I know that you can, they sell Badger products at Naturally Yours here in Peoria. I don't know if they sell the sunscreen, but I do know, it's blurry, but I do know that they sell Badger products, so you can check those out. And the third one that I have not tried out yet, but I have heard amazing things about, and I actually ordered, and it's being shipped here right now, is Beauty Counter. Has a sunscreen, and they also have a little roll-on face stick like this that I just recently ordered and we'll be trying out this summer. Beauty Counter is actually certified by the EWG, which is a whole nother rating system, and it's a rigorous process that you have to go through, a company has to go through, and there's certain stipulations that they have to fall under and tests they have to pass. And there's very few companies that are certified by EWG, but if you're certified by EWG, you are legit. And so I used a ton of Beauty Counter products, mainly their makeup line. Those products you can order online, and they're sold by local like distributors. You can't get them in stores. So if anyone's interested in trying that sunscreen, let me know and I can send you a couple names of local ladies that sell Beauty Counter. But that's it about sunscreen, guys. This is like, I'm kind of passionate about the whole topic of just the chemicals that we put on our body. Like, it's a real concern and it's a real problem. And like I said before, it's not just the sun. So if you're going to take anything away from this, it's skin cancer is not just the fault of the sun. We're putting tons of chemicals every day, no matter if you're male or female, adult or child. We all come in contact with these chemicals and they're extremely harmful, and it's legal for these companies to be putting them in their products. So I don't know if that's ever going to change at the governmental level. So we as consumers have to be more responsible and more educated on what we're putting on our bodies, just to prevent things like skin cancer and so many other ailments. So if you have any questions, let me know. Sorry, it went long again, and I'll talk to you later.